All right, before we dive into this awesome interview with the wonderful Danny J from the Sweaty Betties, I wanted to let you know that the 21-day Get Moving Challenge is starting this week. So if you haven't hopped on this free challenge, now is the time. If you want to have a healthier relationship with your body or actually crave and enjoy movement, this is the challenge for you. Visit 21daygetmovingchallenge.com and sign up now for free. Hello, ladies. I am so excited you are here with me today because I have someone very special. I have Danny J from Sweaty Betties. Danny J is a well-known and respected fitness expert, social media personality, personal trainer, and speaker. Her biggest goal is to help others see the beauty in themselves and the confidence in themselves before they lose weight. She is the owner of the Sweaty Betties, a fun, educational, and truthful movement to help women have access to the education and the truth that the diet industry isn't sharing. Okay, Danny, so excited that you're here. This is going to be awesome. So Danny and I have been talking a lot, and the thing is we have really similar philosophies and even backgrounds on the obsession with the number and the diets and the ideal body and all these things that we think will happen when that happens. And you know, she's kind of shifting into more of an inner guide, self-love, body love, inner guidance type of mindset in business. And so we just kind of wanted to talk about that and give you guys some tools on how to ditch the diets and why that is not the solution by any means. And it only creates more stress and obsession and guilt is what comes up for me when I think about that. So why don't you just kind of explain a little bit about why you're shifting? What's been going on in your head and in your life?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thank you for having me. So kind of my background is kind of crazy. You know, I grew up as a gymnast and I've always been interested in like physical activity. And so I went to school for phys ed. So I started doing personal training and I ended up going into fitness competitions. And so I think that was this, I don't want to say a downward spiral. It just seemed like the normal thing to go along at the time. But I got super hyper focused about it. So I loved training people. I was getting a lot of outside affirmations, like how good I looked and impressed with what I was doing. So I felt like if I was doing something, I had to do more of that. So pretty soon, you know, my 3 days a week at the gym turned into 6 days, 7 days, and then 2-a-days, 7 days a week. And I got to the point where I was doing like 2 hours a day cardio, hour of workouts, eating just the same thing every day, chicken and vegetables, and just super, super, super strict. And I know we kind of talked about this right before, is like you kind of think you're going to be happy at a certain point, right? And I remember I was so lean. I mean, I remember getting my body fat tested. At one point we did the blood dunk and I was like 8%. Whoa. And I wasn't having any periods and I was like so lean, but I was still obsessed with like one little spot on my butt, right? And just everything. I was constantly looking in the mirror. Every time I went to the mirror, I'd like lift up my shirt, like to make sure my abs were still there or something.
Right.
And it was like this constant thing in my head. And I was thinking about it all the time. And I remember, even though I was super lean, I remember getting invited to a pool party and I was embarrassed still to wear a swimsuit, which I shouldn't have been because I had like no fat on me. But then I was embarrassed because I thought people were going to comment how fit I was. So it was like I couldn't win either way. If I was fat, I was embarrassed. And then if I was too fit, I was embarrassed. So I basically got to the point where I had gone so long competing that I really messed up my metabolism. And in that course of events, I gained like 30 pounds within 2 months, just really quickly. And it really messed with my head, right? And I was like, here I am, a trainer. I'm supposed to be a professional. I have clients that are coming to me for weight loss, and yet I'm gaining weight. And so I felt like a fraud. I didn't know who I was. And that kind of took me on the path that I'm on now, which I took basically 2 years off of all fitness. I just stopped working out. I had to. Physically, I couldn't. I had got adrenal fatigue so bad. And I started going to holistic doctors and looking into other things. And I realized that it's so funny because now I'm probably, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds over where I think I should be, but I don't give a crap. Like I go in a swimsuit. I feel great, obsess over it. I have I'm much more confident with myself, with my body. It's just not on my mind. I don't go to the bathroom and lift up my shirt all the time. It's not something that I think about or obsess about. And so what I was starting to realize was my old clients, they were always wanting a new meal plan, a new workout, and just over and over, I was feeding that to them. But I started to just realize with looking at other pages, like other fitness pages, other fitness models and stuff, all the information is out there, right? People know, ultimately, I think, for the most part, when they're eating crap and when they should not be doing that, right? Like, you're like, you're putting it in your mouth, like, I shouldn't be eating this right now. But it's not about the knowledge. Like, there wouldn't be any addicts out there, or if it was just about knowledge. The knowledge is out there.
Right.
It's about applying the knowledge. And so I just got so fed up recently because people were looking for another workout. They're like, now I'm going to try paleo. Now I'm going to try being a vegan. Now I'm going to try juicing. And I'm like, it's not the diet. You don't need another diet. You don't need another trainer. You don't need another workout. You have what you need inside you. And more of it is just dealing with whatever it is that's eating you, not what you're eating.
Right.
So that's kind of how the shift has been happening.
Yeah. And it's so funny how parallel this entire experience is from you and I. And I went through the exact same thing. And I believe the same thing is, you have everything within you. I tell my clients all the time, you don't need another trainer. You don't need another nutritionist. You don't know your body, or they don't know your body as much as you know your body.
Yeah.
And, we always think that the answers are out there. There's so many answers out there. And it's like, no, just shut it off. I was just telling a client yesterday, I ordered her, like, her homework assignment was to stop searching on the internet for new fun tactics or tools. I was like, you need to unsubscribe from emails. I want you to really tune out everything so you can start actually hearing what your body has to say, because this is the tool that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And if you think about the evolution of a human body in just a lifespan, right? It's always changing, always. So if you're always stuck on a meal plan, eventually that meal plan is not going to work for you when you are, pre-menopausal, or you're getting ready to have a baby, or you're recovering from having a baby, or whatever. So that locks you into constantly reaching for something else. But when you learn how to listen to your body, which takes time. I mean, I will say that it takes time. It's just like building a relationship with your partner. It takes time, but once you learn how to listen and honor her, you have a tool with you that helps weight loss and being healthy sustainable for life.
Yep. I think that so many times women, and just us, I should say, is that we feel like we're not okay. Maybe it's not even that we'll be happy at a certain point, but we know our potential is, let's say we've really been sloppy and we've gained like 30 pounds. So we know our potential is to be at 135 or whatever, pick a number. And so until we're there, we can't be okay with where we are now. And that's ridiculous. It's not giving up to be okay with where you are now. I think it's so important to be okay and to accept yourself. I remember that was one of the things was after my competitions and I gained all this weight, suddenly I couldn't fit into any of my jeans anymore. And I refused to buy new clothes. I'm like, nope, this is not me. Me is who I was, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. Pretty soon it's like 2-3 years. And it's like, how long am I going to be living in the past of what size I used to be and just get some damn clothes that fit today, right? And actually feel good about it. And I think I see so many clients, they're like, well, before I had kids, I was a size 4 and now I'm not. And so they're living in the past. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. We might be able to get back there. We might not, but you can't keep holding yourself back from living because you're not there yet.
Right.
It's like, just live how you are now and it's going to happen. And what was so crazy, and I know you're going to believe this, is that the minute I stopped obsessing about what I was eating, I stopped literally, I basically said, F it. I was like, fine. I gained 30 pounds in 2 months. I'm like, shoot, I'm gaining weight anyway. I'm working out a ton. I'm eating all of this I'm eating so clean and I'm gaining weight. Screw it. I'm going to do whatever I want. I went on this binge for like 2 straight weeks. I bought these bags of raisins, bags of chocolate, stopped working out. I mean, literally went crazy, eating spaghetti at 10 o'clock at night. Like, that's a sin. And my weight gain stopped. Like, literally completely stopped. And I was like, whoa, maybe that's all I needed, was just to let go for a minute. And then the other thing that happened was, once I allowed myself to just go on that crazy binge, then I wasn't craving it anymore or thinking about it anymore. Like, the obsession went away, because I was like, well, I've finally eaten my way all the way through the reasons, like all the bags of chocolate I can, and I don't even want them anymore.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. It's just was the journey I took because I was so exasperated. But what you said was that it does take time. This did not happen overnight. Obviously, it took me 2 years, and now it's been almost 4 years, 3 years. But it's been a process of, holy cow, I had to trust myself and realize, wow, my body didn't blow up like those 2 times when I was in college. And then that point, which was, if I ate all this, my body would blow up. It didn't want to. My body doesn't want to be that big. And I think sometimes it can get there because we attract it with our thoughts, right?
Right. Mental weight gain. I would say that all the time. Is like,
oh yeah,
you can just gain weight by merely looking in the mirror and saying, if you're sitting in the mirror, doing bicep curls, and you're just staring at your ass and saying how ugly it is, it's like, I would rather you go home, go on the couch, and eat, because you're not doing yourself you're not helping anything by sitting there cursing your body. And I like what you were saying, how you can't go in the past, you can't compare yourself to that. And what I always say to my clients, because usually they come to me in a place where they're really unhappy with their body, to the point of hating it,
sure.
is I know that the thought of self-love sounds great, but for a lot of people it's like, how do you love this? Like, ugh.
Yeah.
A great place to start is, you don't have to love it, you have to respect it and accept it. That's the first step to really, truly loving your body, is you have to respect everything it does do for you. And you have to accept that you were here meant for a reason. Like, look at Danny and I's story. We both went through some shit with our bodies. But now we're at a place where we really love them, no matter what size they are, if it's going to get bigger or smaller or more cellulite or more pimples. Through the journey, we have our bodies. That's what we have. When we have nothing left, if you have no house, if you have no materials whatsoever, the one thing you have left is with your body. And your body does have wisdom. It's not just this thing that, like, you can hate on. Like, that's not, there's wisdom, there's beauty inside of it, and it's always talking to you. And if you can befriend it and have it be your best friend, I'm telling you, life becomes so effortless.
Yes. I just want to go, amen. It's so funny though. One of the things that kind of popped in my mind as you're saying this was, I feel like somebody's going to go, well, that's easy for you to say, Nichole, look at you.
Right.
And I've had people say that to me. Well, that's easy for you to say, you're small. I'm like, no, because it's not about size at all, because I actually had to accept myself where I was 20, 30 pounds ago. And had I gotten up to 200 or 300 or 400 pounds, I would have had to accept myself. And there are people who are 300 pounds who rock it, dance around. Right. They have so much charisma, energy, and like life. And I remember even when I was super lean, looking at some of those people like at the beach in their swimsuit, 2 parts of my mind. One part was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're wearing a bathing suit. And the other part of my mind was like, I wish I was that comfortable to look like that in a bathing suit, right? So there was that judgmental side, which was just my ego trying to protect me, like somehow I'm better than them, but I'm not, and nobody is. And then there was that side of me super jealous of them. And I think that's why I put the judgment, because I was actually jealous that they were completely comfortable and not caring what people thought. And here I was, lean with no body fat, and I'm still like putting a cover up on and like don't want to walk to the bathroom without covering my butt because I'm afraid people will see a dimple of cellulite or something. Right. So I think that, you have to respect where you're at. And it's funny, I've been having a lot of shifts with money as well, and seeing relationships and parallels with my clients who are in debt and overweight. Like, there's just this interesting parallel. They're stressed, they spend money, and then they buy food and this binge kind of thing. And so one of the things you said was, you start with maybe not loving yourself, but respecting yourself and just being grateful for what you have now. Right? So I remember when we were struggling financially, we had to basically start over and go, okay, I am so grateful for we were living with friends, right? Like first I was like, oh my God, I'm in my 30s and we're living with our friends. We can't even afford our own place. But I had to shift that and go, I am so grateful that we have friends that are allowing us to live with them. And I'm so grateful that we have a chance to get back on our feet. And so I think we have to turn that around to our bodies going, instead of, I'm so disgusted by what I look like, feel like, you know, whatever, is I'm so grateful that I can get up every day and walk. I'm so grateful that I can get to work and make an impact on people's lives. And a big thing was, for me, it was my identity, because I was a fitness model and people knew me for my body and I had these outside affirmations, right? So I felt like I had a standard to live up to. I had to look a certain way because I'm a model. And I realized that I wasn't always that way. And I have friends that love me because of my personality, because I'm funny, because I care about them.
Right.
And we have to look at our own personalities and go, there is more to me than all this, right? Like, what is it about you that is also awesome? You have an amazing spirit. You're caring, you're kind, you're really good at your job. You're really good at math. You're really good at art, whatever it is. But there is also more to you than the physical, but also be grateful for what your body can do.
Right. Right. And that's what I say is focus on function over form.
Oh, yeah.
It's focus on the function of your body. Excuse me. You know, like your lungs are working right now. Your heart's beating.
There's actually this affirmation. So this is kind of crazy. I just found this. When I was struggling with a lot of my stuff, I found all these affirmations on a website, and I can actually share them with you, and you can share them with you. It was an eating disorder website, and it had these like 15, 20 pages of affirmations. So I took some of the best ones, and I wrote them down, and I used to go to the gym, and I would do cardio and read one each like 10 times. And it was kind of cool, like Erin Stetlin's Say It, Sweat It, Get It. Yeah. She does these affirmations while you move, because I think absorbs it when you're moving and getting a lot of oxygen and saying things to yourself. But one of them, which I was finding the other day, it's basically saying to be upset over what I don't have is to waste what I do have.
Right.
So if we are so upset over not having the perfect body, not having whatever it is, you know, a certain number on the scale, you're wasting what you do have. And I think it's honestly selfish to just be upset over what you don't have, right? Because you're given so much. So we just have to get out of our own heads and stop complicating things. You know, I think one other thing that kind of needs to be focused on is just being mindful of, I don't want to say everything, but your emotions around food and your body and just kind of everything. I realized that I had a lot of times when I was getting into my maybe binge episodes or just reaching for something, it was because I was having anxiety. Right. And I didn't realize, and I was bringing that back to like, okay, what's going on in this moment? Like, I had to stop. Because for the longest time, I would just eat mindlessly. And I see this happen a lot where somebody just goes to a drive-thru, they're eating. They don't even know what's going on in their mind. And I think you have to be mindful and slow down and go, wait, just 1 second. And maybe I didn't necessarily stop me. I would realize in the moment that I'm having a lot of anxiety. I'm like, I can't stop this. I'm eating. It's going to make me feel better. But I would realize what brought up that anxiety. You know, maybe it was money and financial fears that we were going to pay the bills. Or maybe it was, you know, a comment, like I just got off the phone with my mom and she stresses me out and I'm like, right to the chocolate.
Right.
And so I think we do have to be mindful, and there's so many tools out there to help with that. A big thing for me was anxiety. And so I learned about tapping. And I also learned about hypnosis, and that helped me a lot. Over all of the medications, I mean, I was medicated when I was in high school, and, you know, I was diagnosed with whatever. And I think that, yeah, that's legit. And there are people who have those kind of issues, but it's also not an excuse. You know, people are born without arms and legs, and they go on to do amazing things and become athletes. So even if you're born with some low levels of dopamine or serotonin, that doesn't mean that it's an excuse. You find what's going to help you and you work with that, right?
Yeah, totally. I have this thing called the food lover concept, where it's a concept you bring to every time you eat. So F stands for, or it's not in any sort of sequential order. Let me just say that. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So lover is an acronym. L stands for look at your food. O stands for observe what you taste, say thanks. V stands for venture in. How is your body responding, not only in that moment, but also 20, 30 minutes afterwards, are you tired? Are you gassy? Are you energetic?
Right.
E stands for eliminate distractions internally. So that's that whole mindful piece. And externally. So like not watching TV, movies, things like that. And then R stands for rest your fork and breathe. So it's,
I love it.
Yeah, it's a very similar type of, it's just a way to kind of shift you into like, I'm eating now. And I really should be thankful and grateful for this food. And to really just, because if you're a food lover and if you come into a situation where you want to eat and I say, okay, be a food lover, you're going to realize in that moment going through these that you actually are eating because you got off the phone with your mom and you're feeling anxiety.
Yep.
And it's going to help shift you into like, oh, well, maybe I should just take a walk, or maybe I should just breathe a little bit and like let it go, or, journal or something like that. It will just help you come into a place of like, instead of reaction, stress equals food. It's more like thinking and taking a step out of your automatic response and being like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Mom's making me eat chocolate, No,
I love it. It is such a process, and it's not easy. And sometimes there is another aspect to that of once you realize, okay, I realize that my mom is a trigger every time I get off the phone with her. And maybe stepping away from the food, maybe you need to go to therapy and deal with that. Maybe you finally figure out like, what is the thing that is eating at me and I need to deal with it. There's a lot of ways, but there's definitely sometimes a certain trigger. Maybe there's multiple triggers and maybe you won't even know what it is. Maybe there's just a general anxiety or dread or something. But I think the more that you become mindful, you will finally either figure out what it is, or you'll find a tool to get out of that situation long enough till where it's no longer the habit. Right. Because I think sometimes we do get to the place where it's just a habit. I was bulimic for years, and for a long time trying to get out of that I remember talking to therapists and counselors, and she's like, okay, well, in the middle of a binge, maybe you just stop. And I'm like, I don't have the time to just stop. And there was sometimes that, it took a while to get awareness. And even though I was aware, I was still doing it.
Right.
But at least it was a very long process of like, okay, now I'm aware of doing it. Okay, now I'm aware of why I'm doing it. I'm still doing it, but I'm aware of it and why. And now I can kind of get to the point where before it even happens, I can start to deal with that. So I think there's so much of a process, and not to get like so deep and say that everybody has deep issues, because it's not always about that. Sometimes it's just really bad habits and never thinking, never being mindful.
Right.
So
it's an automatic response.
Yeah. So I love that. I really, really love that idea.
Mm-hmm. A really great book that you would love is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he talks about this and how your mind is wired. So,
Yes.
And so we, over time, get stressed out, run to the cabinet, and even when we aren't stressed, or even if the littlest thing sets us off, it's just our mind is wired that way. It's like, whoa, it like pulls you. And so even though it might not necessarily be an emotional thing in that moment, maybe when you were grieving your father's death, you created this really unhealthy relationship with food, and your mind was literally wired for depression equals food. And so anytime you feel down, you're just pulled there. You don't need to necessarily deal with your father's death, though there may still be some things you need to resolve there. But you can just work on the automatic pattern and breaking it by putting a sticky note on your cabinet that says, what are you really hungry for? And then having a list of like, maybe you should go upstairs and take a bath. Maybe you're feeling lonely. Maybe you should read a book. Maybe you should go for a walk, and just say, try this. Let's just try this first. Don't say you have to do it.
Right.
Like, you have to work with your mind, because your mind will, if you tell yourself that you can't do something, you'll want to do it. So if you just say, well, here are 5 things you can try instead of eating sugar, it's like you can kind of say, all right, well, I could just at least try one, and just kind of see what happens. And then you can shift yourself emotionally, and then you wouldn't have ate the chocolate.
Yep. And the other thing too is to not get that guilt. Like, let's say you do eat the chocolate and you do it. Well, you're still a step ahead because you actually paid attention this time, and now you can kind of know for the next time, right? So that was one of the things where I was constantly beating myself up of, especially, you know, doing the fitness competition, you were on such a strict thing that if you ate off, just like I remember having to do 4 ounces of chicken, right? And I do 5 and I felt so guilty because I was like, I'm hungry, so I'm going to sneak a little bit more on the food scale. And then I was like having this guilt about it. And then later on I already screwed up and did 5 ounces, so now I'm just going to have cake. And then, you know, it's like you go in this cycle of, well, I screwed up, I'm going to blow it all to pieces. But we have to also acknowledge, okay, at least I know why I did it this time. Might happen again, probably will happen again.
Right.
But if we're working through it, each time it's going to get easier. And like you said, with that, like it's just going to start to loosen to where that's not the automatic response anymore.
Right. Yeah, I call that the screw it to save it mentality, where you would have the 5 ounces and you'd be like, screw it, I'm just going to have a bad day. I'm just going to, you know, it'll be my cheat day. Yep. And, you know, but then you start to shift it and say, instead of going to a screw it mentality, go to a save it mentality of like, oh, whatever, I had an extra piece of pizza at lunch. I'll just have a really healthy dinner and maybe I'll go for like an extra 10-minute walk. Bam, everything's saved. Don't go into the drama. Get over it. Have fun. You know?
Yep.
Okay,
totally.
So let's do a little recap of kind of the 3 things we touched on.
So for sure was like accepting where you're at, accepting and respecting, right? So accepting where you're at right now and respecting your body for what it's doing.
Right. Yeah.
For the breathing in this moment.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Is that 1 and 2? Accept, respect.
Grateful. Yeah. You talked about being grateful.
Being grateful. So having gratitude for, you know, where you're at, what you can do, and also being grateful for what your body does that's not even physical, right? Like holding your mind, your spirit, and holding love for other people. I think that's super important of what your body is doing now. And then being mindful of what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Yep.
So I think those are 3 really big things.
Yep. All right, ladies, no more dieting. No more meal plans, no more exercise plans, from 2 people who have done way too many of those. Probably enough for like most of the people watching. I'm telling you that is not the answer. I have so many women who are like interested in working with me with just like the emotional piece, but they always say, well, I'm just going to do Weight Watchers and like get ready. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Well, you get these questions like, well, hey, does the zone work? Or what do you think of this? I'm like, yeah, it all can work if you do it, but is that going to be your life? Or I don't know what you mean by does it work?
Right. Are you really going to be happy? Are you really going to be free? Because that's the thing. All those things do absolutely work. But you know what? You're going to be stressed out, obsessed. You're going to feel a lot of guilt. And ultimately, you're still going to be struggling with being happy. Because you're just so focused on like, oh, am I doing it right? I'm doing it wrong. It's not a good recipe there. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yes. Well, I'm super inspired with what you're doing with your community. I love it. It's definitely like on my heart, especially lately. I was doing workouts for so long and I just realized I'm not really giving the best of myself or even honoring the people I serve by doing that anymore. Right. I think I was doing them a disservice. And we all go through this, right? I think sometimes it's just the continuum of, like you said, we use our experience and see where we're at now. Right. And I would love to get people from where I was, where you were, to where we are now. And an evolution of me and of you. And I think we have to accept it now, right? Because we're going to be the best and the youngest we're ever looking right in this moment. So I figured I better start now because I'm going to be 50, 60, 70. I'm going to have wrinkles. I'll probably have hairs grown out of my chin. I mean, we got to just accept where we are now. The worst, I think, is regret, right? To be when you're 50 and then say, man, I just wish that I had realized what I looked like then and how I had everything in the palm of my hand. So I hate to see people waste it. So I love what you're doing and that you're empowering people to do that.
Thanks. Ditto. So where can everyone find you?
Learn more about you. On Facebook, I am there the most. It's Facebook.com/The Sweaty Betties. My website is thesweatybetties.com. And I'm on Instagram, not as much as I'd like to be, but I'm such a bad picture taker, but at Sweaty Betties on Instagram too, and YouTube. So all of it, if you find me on my website, you can link all over the place. So thesweatybetties.com.
So yeah, all the links will be below this video. You guys should just check out Danny J. She's so full of energy, so full of life. She's totally wildly alive. Hello. She's like traveling in an RV right now around the country.
Here's my house.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's totally wildly alive. All right, dear. Well, thank you so much for coming. And, you know, I know that the ladies listening are totally inspired and they're not going to do any meal plans, right?
Totally. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
See ya.